Thank you once again, Akora community, for joining us on yet another very interesting conversation here on the Akora Back to School Enterprise, where we speak to remarkable people, remarkable mothers, or let me say sons and daughters of the motherland who have scaled and gone up to great heights and who are in the capacity to give back to Achimota School in various ways, either by coming to do that physically or by their exploits sending the name of our school very far. So today, I'm here with none other than a very, very amazing legal practitioner who has a lot of accolades. We could probably sit here all day to talk about them. So I'm here with lawyer Ahlijah.
Okay, thank you. It's a very loaded question, and I'll do my best to answer it.
Sure.
So before I get to Achimota Secondary, I actually was in Achimota Primary, and before that, Achimota Preparatory. So for me, I'm like I'm an Achimota through and through, right from basic all the way to secondary school. Wow. And for me, I had my dad went to Achimota, lots of my aunties and uncles went to Achimota. So for me, Achimota was like the goal. To get to Achimota Secondary School is like everything, exactly. So if I didn't go to Motown, as we call it, I wouldn't have. I don't know where else I would have gone, because that's the most appropriate place for me, and I really always look forward to going there. So right from Achimota Primary School, I was in boarding school from class 1, basically. So I was in throughout all the way to secondary school. I remember the first day we got to secondary school, how like the students come out, try and harass you a bit. It was like, these people, when they open their trouble, it's only Gary was inside. They're like, hey, these people, I'm sure they went to APS, because we knew all the tricks. So we understood everything, so we came prepared. Meanwhile, our friends who came from some of the other private schools, they brought all the cornflakes, everything, sardines, and they just raided them basically, as you know. So for me, Achimota has been really impactful, big part of my life. Wow. I was born outside Ghana actually. I was born in Nairobi in Kenya.
Oh, okay.
My dad used to work there, so my family was there, and then we came back to Ghana. I started, as I said, from Achimota primary school and then all the way through to senior high school. Yeah.
Meaning that in total you spent 12 years in Achimota.
Yes.
That's a lot.
a lot. And a lot. And those days, there were quite a number of us went through that. So for example, in my year, when we entered in 99, I'll say about 1/3 of the entire year group were people from Achimota Primary. So I had quite a number of people coming through from that, and because of that, I have like lifelong relationships and friendships from all the way from the primary all the way to that. And then we also, most of us also went into university at the same time, and
just continued from
so
there.
Basically, like you have very, very good for me, yes, friendships that I built over.
Because knowing somebody for at least 12 years of your upbringing, that's quite a lot.
Significant, really
very,
significant.
Very significant. Yes. And to grow up in that same place, did it not get boring for you? Was it always lively? Were you always comfortable being in that same space? Because fine, the basic school and the senior high school are a bit apart, but it's basically the same place.
It was so much fun. I can't imagine myself going anywhere else, to be honest with you. The primary school has its own character, and then of course secondary school has its own character. So there are different things that you and it's a journey. So there are different parts that you meet along the way. And for me, it was never boring at all. I always look forward to going to school, and it was exciting. Of course, after secondary school, I also went to Legon, which is literally just but for me, I really enjoyed it, and I'm so glad I went there.
That's truly amazing. So what were some of your experiences in Achimota School? Specific things that you did that are so memorable that you always remember, as in when you think back to Achimota School?
A lot. But so I would say that. Let me see. Okay, so I studied agricultural science in Achimota School, and it was those days. I don't know how it is now, but it was very practical, hands-on. So we used to have like the school farm. Everybody had their own bed, basically. So you had something you could nurture, see grow. If your vegetables are doing well, someone is not doing well. Like it was really exciting. Part of our program, we used to go visit places like Bonsu, the Cocoa Research Institute in Tafo. Private enterprise had been set up with greenhouses and things like that. I found it very, very, very exciting.
Wow.
There were many memorable, moments that came out of that for me. And of course, I continue to have an interest in that area, even though I'm now in the legal space. Yes, but yes, I really enjoyed that.
Enjoy that part. Wow,
yes.
That's amazing. What house were you in Achimota School?
Okay, so I was in Stopford House, which is now, I think, OA House.
Yes,
it used to be
briefly to OA, and it's back to Stopford.
It's back to Stopford. Okay,
Yeah.
Before it used to be House 18. Before it became Stopford, then OA House, and now it's back to
Stopford. A lot of transitions for one house.
A lot of transitions, and of course. It was a boys' house, and then
now it's a girls' house.
So it's really interesting.
Wow,
for me, I had quite a nice time and stuff.
Then it means you were still not so far from Achimota Primary
at all,
because you came
basically right there, exactly.
And that was just there. You just crossed the road and
exactly. Because if I was in the east, they would have been a bit away, but literally just right there. Exactly.
That's quite interesting. So then agriculture, Stopford House. But was there a point where you became a prefect or a leader or something of that sort?
Yes, so I was dining hall prefect on the West. Maybe I like food, that's why. But it was good, yes. I was dining hall prefect, making sure everything works on point, yes, with dining hall. Food is on time, everybody gets there, finished, goes for prep and all that, yes.
Any interesting experiences that came up as a result of that role you had? Maybe students' misbehavior at the time, or students were generally comported. How did your tenure as a dining hall prefect play out? Was it stressful? Did you have challenges?
No, it wasn't stressful for me. I think generally with leadership, a lot depends on your relationship with people. So when you have a good relationship with people, you can get them
to do what you want them to do.
Basically, yes. It wasn't, I won't say it was challenging at all. And so before I became a dining hall prefect, I was also, working. So first year, second year, I was working at the dining hall. That was my assigned place, and we used to call bellboy. We rang the bell to even call for dining. So I was doing that when I was in SS2 before SS3 became a prefect as well. So maybe I had a very good relationship with the dining staff, the students, like around the dining hall was my area.
Sure.
So, it wasn't a difficult thing. No.
And just like you mentioned before, you had come through the primary system, so you knew it too well.
If I told them, I even knew them when I was in primary school. And then you meet them. So for me, it was like home, basically. Yes.
I think that must have been very interesting. If I look at myself, I only attended Achimota School for 3 years, so the depth of my experience in there was not as compared to yours.
Yes, exactly.
Amazing. So in Achimota School, were there things that happened that you would say have greatly influenced who you've become in the future up until now?
Absolutely. Yeah. So one of the big takeaways for me going to Achimota School, even before I went to secondary school, was that, you see, with Achimota, you can see a lot of role models you can look up to. So as I said, for me, if I wasn't going to Achimota, I don't know where else I would have gone, because, when I look around, there are many icons in the country who were Achimota. So, looking at them, I always wanted to be in their shoes, basically. And when I went to Achimota, I realized that support system was still there. It didn't go away, because we had alumni really active in the school. So they come around, they talk to us. Even when we finished secondary school and university, they're still with us. They're always a big part of everything that we're doing. And seeing personalities like that, for example, I remember once we were in school, the late president Jerry Rollins came around, that kind of thing. As Rich Nana Kunedu, we have the professor, the scientists, the data bank group. Many of them went to Achimota. So there were so many people who you could always
look up to,
interact with, look up to, and things like that. And so for me, when I was in secondary school, it drove me to be very interested in being active in the OA. So when I finished school, I dove in right away. So basically, I've been very active in all Achimota's things from that time. either in my year group, even a national executive. We've done all kinds of things, you know, for that. So
Remarkable.
I think it's good to have people you look up to and things like that, and then it helps you to also aspire to do
Great things.
greater things. I mean, when it comes to the legal fraternity, there are many older Achiwoters who are like, you know, the leaders in the field, and so we aspire to be like them, and it also pushed us to do what
to do great things.
Exactly.
Amazing. So, were there any specific friendships or relationships you built that you could tell have directly impacted some of the things you did later on in life? I mean, apart from being the OA in the OA like a lot, and then being an executive at various points, were there specific people you met? Let's say you were with them right in Achimota School, you grew up with, and you could tell that these people were very instrumental in some things you did.
Many. I know many, because as I said, a lot of the relationships I developed in school even started before secondary school. So, and till today, those relationships exist. And so I have, you know, lots of my mates who I'm still very close to, interact with constantly. So, for example, Dominic Ankobia, he's my mate, Kujo Fori, Clarence Amuate, Babro Kaintete, Kwabna PJ, like all of them are doing different things now. We still have ways of connecting, meeting up and things like that, supporting each other, encouraging each other to, you know, strive to do better in our various fields and all that. And I would say that these relationships are what really keep you going, because at the end of the day, you can't do everything by yourself. You need people. Yeah, people really. And once you have built friendships that have, you know, developed over time, it really carries you through. Exactly. And for me, most of, as I said, my lifelong relationships are people that I knew from Achimota. Yes. And still we are very close.
Wow, amazing. People usually ask why they should give back to Achimota School, why they should come back and support into various things. And speaking to the Akora President, Joe Oneti, one thing he usually says is that we shouldn't give back to Achimota School because we expect something, but because of what Achimota School has already done for us, or what it has helped us to become. Do you agree with that?
Absolutely. You see, it takes, I mean, there's a phrase which is kind of cliche, but it's so true. It takes a village, literally, to do anything. So it's not even just about your old school. In anything that you can imagine or think about, you kind of need support of those who have gone ahead. Because whatever challenge that you face at a particular point in time, you see that there may have been dimensions of it that have happened before. There are always people who can, you know, pull you and direct you and tell you things to do. And for me, when we went through the school, we benefited from the school. For me, Achimota School really impacted my life positively. In terms of my confidence, you know, being able to take on any challenge, you know, just feeling that the world literally is out there for the taking. You know, you have that belief because you know that this is the kind of value or values that were inculcated in us in Achimota School. And so now that I've benefited from that, I've come out, what more can I do than to maybe support someone else to also get the same experience? And so, as I said, those who have gone ahead of us, they did it while we were there to support us and everything. And we also should carry it on. And like I said, not only for our schools that we attended, but anything that you've been part of before, you can always give back to it because it takes really everybody chipping in one way or the other to make it happen.
Very amazing. We've come to realize that you've been a legal practitioner for some time now. And one of your most recent works I came across was your book on the energy sector. And that was, I think, in 2023, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, 2023.
Is it a book for primarily legal practitioners, or we could pick it up as non-legal practitioners and it will be very beneficial to us in terms of our knowledge?
Okay. So the book actually focuses on law and policy. So it's not just legal, it's policy as well. And the information in there is for everybody. Even today, we have a national debate on whether there's doom saw, there's no doom saw. Those are the kinds of things that I explored in the book because there's actually a clear definition for doom saw. So
sure.
you can tell whether it exists or it doesn't exist at any point in time.
Sure.
And so, if you want to understand the power sector, how, for example, the different elements interconnect to ensure that we have light to do whatever it is that we're doing, what your rights and obligations are as a customer, for example, of a distribution network where, for example, your light is not working, there's an issue. Can you complain? Can you take on the distribution company? Like all those kinds of things are dealt with. So it's actually for anybody who is interested in reading, understanding the power sector.
Awesome. Awesome.
Grab a copy. It's not written in legalese to make it just for lawyers. No.
Okay.
Researchers, policy people. Yeah, sure.
Because sometimes we get a bit lost, just like you mentioned. We don't know whether we are in a doomsday situation or we are not in a doomsday situation, and all kinds of back and forth. But I'm positive that any Akora or anybody out there who's watching this interview should probably get a copy of the book and get all the knowledge for themselves so that they can apply it to a lot of things.
Yes, absolutely.
Awesome. And then you have another one which is a bit older, which is commercial law in Ghana.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking that one is a bit more skewed, or not really, towards the lawyers.
I would say generally to lawyers, law students, anybody in that space, because it's on commercial law. And I wrote that in collaboration with one of my seniors, Clement Akapam, also a lawyer. So primarily for legal practitioners, because that one delves in depth into laws, commercial law, all the statutes that govern commercial law. So for example, when you go to a store to buy goods, and it's a very simple transaction, but you don't know that there's a whole legal regime around it called sale of goods law, which regulates how we buy and sell goods. Basically, there are other dimensions of that. So those are the kinds of things we explore in that book. And so, and I teach that course as well with my colleague at GIMPA.
At GIMPA?
Yes. So that's, I'm in academia as well. So that's what we do.
That's truly amazing. I came across a 2011 Hollywood movie, a series actually, called Suits. I don't know if you've come across it.
Yes, I've seen.
If we're looking at that movie Suits, it gives a very beautiful perspective to law. Would you say that that's how law plays out for you on an everyday basis, or it's a bit of a fantasy that we see in Suits?
To be honest, when I started watching Suits, after a few episodes, I stopped. I was like, this thing is just so... It's so unreal. Every day, Harvey Specter is threatening somebody and the person will cave in and then...
Yes, he wins
the day. Like that. Sometimes in court, look, you see that the witness is lying. You keep, changing your questions, trying to they are still lying. Like they are holding on to their guns. It's not always that simple or easy to just, every day the witness caves in and they wins the day. But I can assure you that law is really interesting as well. So I guess that's what they're also trying to portray. And especially they are highlighting more of the, should I say, the negotiation part of it. Because you see that in Suits, for the first season I watched, there's a lot of, some issue comes up and then there are always strategies on how to kind of settle it and things like that, which is also really the way that the law is evolving now, because not only in the West, even here, there's a push to move away from, let's say court dispute resolution. If you can settle, so there are a lot of alternative dispute resolution mechanisms. You can do conciliation, you can do mediation, you can negotiate your own settlement and things like that, which is always preferable. Even the Bible talks about it. It says that if your adversary is taking you to the courts, if you can meet him on the way and settle, you settle before you get to the court. So that's how it is, because once you get into
the trial,
it can be it's a whole other thing. But it is interesting. For me, Suits is a bit unreal. But apart from that, I really enjoyed Boston Legal.
Oh, okay.
So Boston Legal is a bit older. It's more comedy. So it's chill. It's nice to see law being used in such a funny way. But then you also really learn a lot.
Wow.
Apart from that, I think The Good Wife, the series is good.
That one I've not seen.
The Good Wife is good. It's really, that one, the law is a bit more Yeah, there are many other things that you could.
You know, lawyers usually refer to yourselves as learned colleagues. Is it because of the depth of reading you have to do to be a lawyer, or there's something else that makes you people, talk to each other as learned colleagues or ascribe to each other as such?
Yes, the reading is so. As you know, everybody talks about having to do so much reading when you're a lawyer. It's true, but the reading of the law is like the foundation, really, because a good lawyer is the one who understands, for example, their clients and their client's business. So they are not going to just focus on only the statutes and the cases. You need to really appreciate what your client is doing so that you can use the law to, really advise them properly. Because the law is generic. We cannot take the same statutes. If you have two lawyers, you cannot read it. But the difference between one lawyer and the other is one who will know how to use the law to advance the interests of their clients. So we are learning because we are generally striving to know more and be better in everything. So not only in the law, but also, as I said, in other things. So when you are well read, you are well exposed, you are a better lawyer than just everyday section 1, section 2. Yes, exactly. And we call ourselves that because we know that when you've gone through the mill and you've attained the call to the bar. You have made it. Wow. Exactly. But it's not easy at all. It's not easy. To become a lawyer wasn't easy. And then also because I teach her, so I know it's not easy because I can still see my students they are still going through it. Exactly. And it's the same everywhere in the world, whether in Ghana or in any part of the world, really. Because sometimes we tend to think that maybe in the West, it's easy to go to school. It's only easy to get the resources and the material, but I can assure you that law is difficult everywhere. Exactly. But it's also very exciting, and I encourage anybody who wants to study law to read law if you have the passion for it, you really should go for it, because when you are going through the difficulty, the passion will carry you through. Wow. So if you don't have the passion, you see that you struggle. But if you are really interested in it, I don't see why you can't complete it.
I came across the fact that you had, if I'm not mistaken, attended one of the best law schools in the world, or if not the best, for a master's program. That's Harvard Law, if I'm not mistaken. Yes. How did that happen? Because we know Harvard to be the best, if not one of the best. So how did you get to that level?
Well, Harvard is the best, really. No matter the different rankings you look at, Harvard is the best, or one of the best, obviously. Getting there, just part of the journey. Basically, you need to identify the school, see their requirements, and meet them. Wow. Which you can do in many ways. You could so for example, somebody who is now starting out, if you have decided that that's the school you want to go to, you can prepare yourself for that. Even if not, you can look at their requirements and then basically sell your story. Okay. And for me, going to Harvard was really, powerful experience. And thankfully, because of the things I've done before going to Harvard, it made me a good candidate, I guess, for them to pick, because how competitive it is to get into those schools. So it's not only about grades. Again, like I say, grades are good, but you have to show basically that you are a well-rounded person. You are, somebody who impacts society. Because I think you asked that earlier question about why we give back and all that. All those things are things that sell with applications to places that are competitive. Because if it's grades, about 99% everybody who apply has a grade. So what would differentiate one person from the other? A lot depends on your extracurricular activities, your impact to society, contributions to things that are meaningful. Because those schools, they are looking at wider impacts in the world, not just
yourself.
Yes, your grades, exactly. So it was quite an experience.
Wow. Yes. But then that means that you met very amazing people there too. Because these are people who were selected from the mini.
I tell you, it is really I'll say the cream of the cream, like people from all over the world. And you can see why they are there. Like, immediately meet somebody, you can tell that this person is like, yes, they are really also the top for wherever they are coming from, you know, in their various countries and so on. So it was really quite an experience. So I had, for example, mates who were PhD holders already and now come to study a master's degree. For example, one of my mates was a former Chief Justice of Liberia. Wow. For example, like that's like somebody who has reached the pinnacle but has still decided to come back to school. And that's your mate who you can, you know, call up. Just, you know, literally. So you can imagine. And it really gives you a good network anywhere in the world, because if I have to travel to any country, I can just go on our WhatsApp platform and say, I'm coming to this country today. Is there anybody around? And
people are there.
It just, you know, so it's really a good experience. I met all kinds of people, really, really powerful people. You can see that they are all impacting that society, doing interesting things where they came from and so on.
Amazing. Speaking to lawyer Lom Ahlijah on his journey from Achimota School to what he's become today. And really, lawyer Lom says he started everything from Achimota School, so we didn't even have any pre-stories, apart from the fact that he was born in Kenya, Nairobi to be precise.
Yeah.
So it's been an interesting conversation with lawyer Lom, finding out on all that he's been doing in his journey in life. So lawyer Lom, you know, there are a lot of upcoming, this will probably be my final question, upcoming younger Akoras, some who are probably, I was speaking to some of them who are in law school and all that, and some who are not in law school in other fields or careers. What advice would you give to the upcoming Akora or upcoming young person who is aspiring to be like lawyer Lom?
Well, they don't need to be like me. They can carve their own niche for themselves. But what I would say basically is that everything you decide to do, you just have to give it your all. Because if, for example, you want to study law, you have to find out where you want to study, for example, what are the requirements and how do I make sure I meet the requirements. So if now most law schools in Ghana have an undergraduate program, they have a postgraduate one. So if you are in secondary school and you want to study it, you should look at, okay, if I'm going as an undergraduate law student, what kind of grades do I need to get in WASI and all of that. If you're already in university, you want to do it as a postgraduate degree, you need to know what to get. So basically, you prepare yourself for the program. And then after that, since you want to be a lawyer, you should basically dedicate your life to it, because for now, either undergraduate or postgraduate, you spend about maybe 5 to 6 years in school.
Sure.
3 years, 2 years, or 4 years, 2 years. So that's so much time that you should make sure that the law passes through you. Because when you become a lawyer and people meet you, they assume you know everything actually. So it's not, when somebody asks you a question, you can't say, oh, I don't know, I know that. Like, there are some basics that you should know. And the only way you can be that thorough or that deep is to have been really committed right from the beginning. Wow. Exactly. So you have the fundamentals at your fingertips. You can always study things like maybe, for example, aviation law is not taught in any school in Ghana that I know. So if you want to become an aviation lawyer in Ghana, you have to learn it on the job, basically. But in order to be good in aviation law, you must be solid in your contract law, which is like fundamental. Or you should be solid in international law, because aviation is very international, things like that. So basically, there's no substitute for hard work, because everything else will be building on the foundation. So if you are studying for your LLB, don't do it half-heartedly. Just basically commit to it. Yes, this is what I want to do. I want to be a lawyer. I want to be my profession for life. If you are somewhere in a family meeting or something, so lawyer, what is this? Like the basics, you must just know them off your head. Jesus Christ, when he went into the temple when he was 12, he was having discussions with scholars of the law about, you know, biblical stuff. And we also know that he started his ministry when he was 30. So between 12 and 30, what was he doing? He was learning. Exactly. So when you're a Christian, for example, you are going to church and all that, you are doing that as well. But it is not an excuse to compromise on the
academics
either, because if you don't, what you don't know, you can't write it. You get it, and also God blesses our efforts. So what you have done is what God will bless and add favor, give you favor, so that you can go through. And so the two really do go hand in hand. You have to commit yourself to the books, and then know how you do other things, including that as well.
Amazing. We've been speaking to Lawyer Long Ahlijah. He shared amazing insights with us. He's welcomed us to his office today. We've had an amazing conversation on what his life has been, what advice he has for the younger generation of Akoras or individuals, and how we should move on when it comes to all the kind of things that we do, let's say in the law profession or in anywhere that you find yourself, basically. So thank you so much, Lawyer Long Ahlijah, for having us today.
Yes,
I think it's been an amazing conversation. Definitely, we would have loved to spend the entire day, but we know you're a busy person, you have a lot to do. So thank you so much for having us.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Accra community. Till we come your way one more time, it's been a good conversation, and we'll see you in the next episode.